Hello and welcome to Your Viewpoint. This is your host Patrick Deya, and today I have the honor of welcoming to the Washington DC area and to this show the Ambassador of Kenya, Your Excellency Ambassador Elkanah Odembo. Now, the ambassador is new to this area, and his arrival was very much anticipated by the Kenyan community. And today we want to talk about issues that deal with Kenya, issues that are important to Kenya, issues that he wants to highlight about Kenya. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deya.
Now, your coming here, as I said, was very, very much anticipated by the Kenyans in the diaspora, and especially the Kenyans in the Washington, D.C. area. Since you're coming, you've been to places like Atlanta, you've been to Boston,
right?
And you're speaking to Kenyans. What is your message?
Thank you very much, Mr. Deya. I too was looking forward to my coming to Washington, and I have, as you've mentioned, traveled around a bit. This is a big country, so I've not by any means done even a fraction of what I need to be doing, but I have traveled around a bit. My message is simple to Kenyans. We would like for Kenyans to take their responsibilities as Kenyans very seriously. I say to them that they are Kenya's ambassadors by virtue of being Kenyans in the United States, by the mere fact that they are in contact with several and numerous audiences and publics here in America, in whatever capacity they are here, whether they're students, whether they are driving taxis, whether they're working for the federal government. They are, in every sense of the word, ambassadors, and therefore I urge them first and foremost to take their responsibilities as Kenyans seriously, to represent us well in a dignified manner, to be proud to be Kenyans, but very importantly also urging them to unite and work together for the simple reason that only if we are organized and united as Kenyans, it's a very significant number of Kenyans in the United States, that organized and united, we are therefore we're in a better position to impact on development at home. We are also in a better position to impact on the relationship between Kenya and the United States, because quite a number of Kenyans who are here have been here for many years. Some of them have American citizenship now,
yes,
and therefore they have a vote. And part of our agenda here is to enhance our relationship with the United States, and the congressmen, congresswomen, and senators all come from various constituencies, and in some of those constituencies they are Kenyans. So Kenyans are a very important constituency for me as an ambassador, because they are part of my strategy, as it were, for both bringing about development at home, but also for purposes of engaging with American representatives for those Kenyans who are American citizens.
And you've touched on it about coming together. There's a notion that Kenyans abroad are as much divided along political lines, along tribal lines, just as much, if not even more, despite being abroad and
yes,
having been exposed to the different cultures.
Yes.
How do you want to go about that? How do you want to bring the Kenyans together and close that gap that exists?
Yes, it is true. They are fragmented. There are factions and groupings along various lines. Age is another categorization of Kenyans. There are Kenyans who are older, Kenyans who are in the Middle Ages, there are Kenyans who are young people who've just recently come. Men, women divisions. and then, of course, tribal and ethnic divisions as well. These we have to deal with. I am taking these head on and challenging Kenyans to rise above that. Kenya is at the moment very well poised to do incredible things as a country, but also as a significant player within the region. We have a new constitution. We promulgated a new constitution. This is something that we have been working towards for many, many years. Mm-hmm. People have lost their lives, people have been injured, people are detained. A new constitution, and I sense a new level of optimism among Kenyans everywhere I have gone. It seems to me that perhaps this new constitution is one of the things that we needed, because it appears to be providing for us a common denominator. This is something that we can all say, this is ours, we've all been party to it, this is a constitution. It's not only a good constitution, but it's also a constitution that involved Kenyans. So this is a constitution we can all own. Mm-hmm. So I say to them, we have a good constitution, we have a new beginning. Kenyans at home are very hopeful, are very optimistic about what the future holds. Mm-hmm. And so I'm challenging them, being here and being in a privileged position of being Kenyans who live and work in America, to take on their responsibilities as Kenyans, and that responsibility of helping us to forge a nation, they must take very seriously. We have a strategic plan that we have developed 4 years ago now, which we call Vision 2030. This is Kenya's plan and strategy to become a middle-income country by the year 2030. It has a political pillar, it has a social pillar, it has an economic pillar. Within this vision, the diaspora is very important. We have close to 2 million Kenyans who live outside of the boundaries of Kenya. They are a very important constituency for us. Their remittances today are almost a tenth of the total budget in the country. So they're a very, very significant constituency for us. In this country, we have close to 500,000 Kenyans. And I remind them about their numbers, their capacity, and the potential that they have for influencing development and the changes that we want to see take place at home.
Now, in that regard, how do you talk to individuals and other groups, for example, the U.S.-Kenya Chamber of Commerce or the Kenya community abroad, in carrying forward this message of development and promoting Kenya, and whoever they talk to?
This communication has come up in different forms. In some places where I've gone to, it has been in the form of a town hall meeting. In some places, I've met groups that are organized, and therefore I've met them in their own space as a group. There are faith-based groups and organizations. There are youth groups. There are students groups. There are groups of professionals here. There are groups of Kenyans who are in the private sector, in the business sector. So there are groups that I have been able to go and meet with at their invitation. There are groups that I've seeked out, that I've reached out to from hearing from different people who I've been in contact with. But everywhere where I have gone, I have tried to make sure that I am able to make contact with and engage with a good cross-section of Kenyans. So if I can't meet with them and communicate with them in the form of a town hall meeting, I will go to them in their smaller groups and organizations and engage with them. And the message has been consistent. You have a responsibility to be a part of the solution, to be a part of the vision that aims to get Kenya out of poverty to becoming a middle-income country. You have a responsibility and a fairly serious responsibility of being part of this new dispensation, this new republic, this new sense of optimism that has engulfed Kenyans over the last 6 months or so, particularly with the new constitution.
The Kenya's new constitution, as you mentioned, was something that is now being looked at from the world, and the U.S. in particular, as something that would address the corruption that has been there and the impunities that have happened before. Do you think there is a political will to actually implement the constitution in a way that will address these issues?
Thank you. Let me say 3 or 4 things that are significant about this constitution. This constitution begins by stating in the very first line that sovereignty belongs to the people of Kenya. We've never been anywhere near that kind of an arrangement before with our old constitution. So sovereignty belongs to the people of Kenya. That's a very significant statement. It's, in the context of the United States, the equivalent of we, the people. So that's a very important statement. It's the opening statement. Secondly, the Bill of Rights in the Kenyan Constitution, which is the Chapter 4, is the longest chapter in the Kenyan Constitution. It has enshrined significant rights in that Constitution. It is probably among the best. It is one among the best in the world. I have had the opportunity to review and read several constitutions of different countries, and I can say without any fear of contradiction that the Bill of Rights in the Kenyan Constitution is as good as any that I have seen. Thirdly, the separation of powers, the executive arm of government, the legislature, and the judiciary. That is where a big part of our problem lay for many years. Too much power in the executive, too much power in the presidency. As a result of too much power, abuse of power followed. And that has been the trend, not just in Kenya, but has been the case in many African countries. What we have managed to do with the new constitution is we have very, very clearly demarcated and made a distinction. The powers of the executive, the powers of the judiciary, and the powers of the legislature have been clearly defined and separated for once. That's very significant. An independent judiciary. You talked about corruption. A big part of our corruption has been not just that it has been over the years so deeply rooted in our society. We've had a judicial system that has not been able and has not been responsive to managing the problem of corruption. So much so that in Kenya, there was a joke people used to talk about the fact that if you get in trouble, there's no need to pay a lawyer because you can pay a judge, a magistrate. We have now overcome that, and in fact, within this new dispensation, in the new constitution, right now as we speak, we are in the process of overhauling the entire judiciary. We will have a completely new judiciary over the next 9 months, starting with the Chief Justice, who by next month will be out of office, followed by the Attorney General, followed by the Public Prosecutor, followed then subsequently by all the magistrates and the judges in the Republic of Kenya are going to have to resign their positions and reapply. And those who reapply have to be very confident that they have a clean record and a clean past, not tainted with any amount of corruption. Secondly, with the two principles, the President and the Prime Minister, the fight against corruption, corruption has been a major problem for us. In addition to the revised judiciary, a Judicial Service Commission, which is going to ensure the independence of the judiciary, that has been put in place in the last 1 month. The Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, which is the body mandated to make sure that we address the issues of corruption, has a new leadership. With the new leadership at the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, in just the last 4 months alone, we have seen 4 cabinet ministers. 4 cabinet ministers, this is historical, who have had to step aside as a result of their names being mentioned in one case or other that has a corruption element in it. So that's significant. So that gives you an indication of the political will that is there today. The general public itself is very optimistic that yes, if we have commitment and political will at the highest level, that we will indeed be able to deal with the problem of corruption.
And with that, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue with this interview with the Ambassador of Kenya, His Excellency Elkanah Odembo.